still have that button, so I started recording. Just here we go.
Okay.
Be the first presenter.
So let me share my Windows. Can you see my Windows?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So
Just
I'm
your
using
credit, guys, when you see his window pop up, there's ways that you can close some of the other windows, like some of the screens and things like that. You can also probably double click or right click on his screen to make it full screen. So that's something that you have to kind of figure out on your end on the side. I don't know what type of options they're going to give you. All right, Chisti, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So actually, I wanted to use my second screen rather than this screen because I have two monitors. So I would like to use my second screen. Can I do that one?
Yes.
How
Right
can I do
click,
that?
right click on that screen icon, that circular screen. Yeah, right click on it and see it's going to give you a bunch of options. Do you see?
Screen of monitor 2.
Now we see your test auto execution window.
Can you
Okay.
see?
Yeah, I
Can you
see
see my?
your classic test case.
Yes. So this is my classic test case.
Can you
Actually,
zoom in a little bit more? Press Control Plus button. Control Plus.
Control Plus.
Yeah, press and hold Control, or press and hold Control, hit the plus button a couple of times. There you go. Keep doing that. I think that's good enough. Hey guys, can you all read what he wrote with this font? Or does he need to zoom
Yes.
in more?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Yes.
sounds
So
good. So
in class.
just first, before you start this, I would like you to go to that site where you did your exploratory testing. Show the audience what was the feature that caught your eye that you wanted to create a test case for, and then come
Okay.
back in here and then show how you did it.
Okay. Let me go to the site.
We're doing right now is kind of like the sprint demo, because if your sprint team is going to do a sprint demo meeting, that 1 hour meeting of displaying what they actually did that sprint, that will be the developers that they're going in and showing the feature that, hey, I built this feature this sprint and this is how it works, and then moves on to the next developer who is going to demo what they build. It's a great way for testers to see, okay, did I miss anything? Did I write all the test cases that I needed to write for this development cycle? And then sometimes they're gonna make you do demos. Some teams will be like, oh, you were the QA, you tested everything, so how about the developers watch and you demo what they built and how you tested them? So you may need to display and kind of walk everybody through this, and they might ask you, hey, go ahead and test this. Let's see how if it's passing or not. You may have to test that feature in front of them while they're watching. Um, Show what test cases you wrote, where you saved them, and so forth. So be ready for anything, guys. And this is a good practice for you. for getting to that level. Chisti, are you blocked by anything?
Yeah, I got it. So
But we don't see your screen. We're only seeing your, yeah, now we see it.
now we can see.
Yes.
Right. So let me present first. So good morning, everyone. I'm Chishti. I'm trying to present my homework that I have completed last night. So in brief, I went to the website. So when I click the link and went to the website, you can see this page. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
The TechFuels file, the initial TechFuels website file popped up that asks for email address and password. So this is the scenario. This is the initial things. Then I tested from the very beginning. So in my classical test case, the test scenario is varied users should be able to log in. So I
We did
use
that
my
already, Chisti.
huh?
We did that in the class. So the homework was that you would go inside and pick a different feature other than the login feature.
That I did in the BDT.
Okay, then you
That I
can
did
go
in the
ahead and
BDT.
just
Actually,
present, yeah, just present the BDD then. Because I'm not looking for something that I already covered in the class, something new, something that you found. Uh, you did your own exploratory testing in the unknown is what I'm looking for. So, which unknown feature have you went in, explored, and decided that I am going to pick this one? Guys, you got an option to pick which feature that you get to write a test case on. When you start working, you're not gonna get an option. You're gonna have to write all of these test cases for all of those features that's in that application. Obviously not in one day or in 1 month or in 1 year. Yeah, you're gonna have plenty of time, but you don't get to choose saying, "Oh, I don't like this feature. I don't know how to write a test case on this." Nope, nope. You have to write test cases for every single thing that is interactable, and make sure you test it, and make sure your company does not release a bad application into production, because the blame is gonna come back to you. So that's why it is so important that you learn the skill. So, Chisti, which feature caught your interest? Yeah, go into the feature first. Don't even start
okay. So
explaining the gherkin, because we are not going to understand the gherkin until we understand the feature.
so you see the my account.
Yes.
Okay. I click the my account. It further pop up some features like edit profile, change password, and log out. So I tried to change the password.
That was good.
So when I click to change password, it showed some information like the current password, new password, confirm new password, and then submit. So I used current password. I gave the new password, and I confirm the new password, and I submit.
Can you run it down?
Okay. So the password was ABC123. Then the new password was ABD123. Then the confirm password was ABD123, and then submit. Okay. So when I submitted, it shows confirmation that password has successfully changed. Please log in again. So what I did, I used my user address, and I use my old password. That was ABC123. Oh, let me do first. I go to the sequence. So what I did, I used my user's ID that I have been given, and I used my new password
Right. Which is a
ABD.
positive test case.
Yes, this is
Yep.
positive test case.
Always do the
ABD
positive
one
test case first.
first. Yeah, ABD 123. Then I signed in, and it showed the dashboard. So that I did. Then again, I changed.
No, no, no. Go log out. Now you need to do your negative test case. Log
Yeah,
out of this. Yeah, click on this Welcome Tech Files top right corner. Top right corner. Click on that.
yeah.
Log out.
Okay.
Click on it.
No.
Log out.
Yeah.
Now do your
So
negative test case of
yes,
logging in with that old password,
right.
ABC123, and see
Right.
what happens.
So I used my user's ID, and I used my old password that was ABC123. Then I click sign button. So it gives me message that invalid user or password.
Oh man. So it
So,
does really
so
work.
yeah, it works.
Okay,
It
let's go
works.
back in there and switch it back to ABC123. Um,
Okay.
I
Then
don't think this is a good test we should be doing because, you change password, you change it for everybody, right? Or not. Hold on a second. Hold on a
mhm.
second. Do this. Refresh the screen. Let's see what happens. Yes. Click on that refresh
Oh,
button. I want
actually that also I did.
to
That
refresh.
also.
Now let's
Mhm.
see. Yeah. Go ahead and put in the user ID and ABC123, the old password. I want to see if it resets it itself or not. To be honest with you, I have not been playing with this feature on this.
Yes, it doesn't.
Okay. So what you basically did is you blocked this website for everybody.
Oh, but the good thing is that again I changed my password and I went to my old password as the new password so that everybody can enter in.
Yes, let's go ahead and do that because I was
Okay.
under the impression that this feature will be turned off, that you will be able to
Yeah.
change it because let's say you forget to change it back to ABC123,
Yeah.
other
So
students are trying to get in and exploratory test on that, they won't have access.
yeah.
That password won't work.
All right. So I use my new password also, the ABD123, and I click the sign in button that allowed me to go to the website and it opened the dashboard. Again, I went to my account and I changed my password. I used my recent password as the current password that was ABD123. Then I changed the password. I back to my old password as the new password that was ABC123, and I confirmed my old password is the new password. I wrote it again and submit. That also again showed me the uh, password change information. Now my password is ABC123. You can
Okay.
see, right?
Yes. All right.
Okay.
Let's
So
go ahead
let me
and go
go.
to your Gherkin now.
Okay. So let me go to the credential first and open the windows, then I'll minimize it.
Sure. And uh, just going forward, guys, do not change the password um, because you will shut it down for some time. And if there's somebody else trying to log in at that moment, will be blocked by this password change. So don't change the password on that. And imagine you change the password and you forgot. What you changed it to?
Yeah, the site might be blocked by to all.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the site admin. And this is something that has been developed and forgotten about it. So,
So,
yeah.
so this is actually you gave all of us the administrative power to send change the password. Is it?
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to. I was under the impression that that was kind of disabled. Even if you do it, it refreshes
Yeah, that should
back
be
to,
because most of the site, if the user do not get the administrative permission, they cannot do some features.
yeah, something went wrong. Maybe they unblocked it, or when they try to change it, this would be a bug because we don't want this feature in here because this is a student access thing, and we don't want anybody to
Yeah.
change the password. So anyway, go ahead and explain your steps right now in Gherkin.
So in Gherkin test, the scenario is a valid user should be able to change his hard password
Very good.
given web address and the credential. Web address you can see in the blue letters written and the password, username, the user's email address and the password as the ABC122123. As a valid user, I opened the given web page using the credential that was given to me. When I clicked on my account and went to the change password icon and typed the current password in the given field and type the new password and confirm the new password by typing again, then click the submit button. Then it gave me a message of password change successfully. When I use the user's name and old password and click on the sign in button, then it showed error message. When I use the username with new password and clicked on the sign in button, then I was able to open the page again. So this is my Gherkin test. I'm not sure whether it is up to the mark or I should modify something or totally. Then I'll be happy if you uh, keep your comment or advice.
Absolutely. First of all, great job. And the way you did the exploratory testing, changed and reset the password back, and then you came here and you did this given when then. This is a big step. You did it so well. Some of the wordings I would go probably change a little bit here. So let me do this. I need an access to your computer so that I can point at a few things. So I'm going to take my permission from your screen off for a second,
Yep.
and then I'm going to give you back again. This time it's going to give me, I would be able to draw on your screen at least. That's what I'm thinking. So just give me 1 second. Let's see if this really works or not. Um, okay. So I'm requesting keyboard and mouse control. What do you see? Diti, can you hear me? Can the rest of you all hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. Now I can hear you. It was
Okay.
automatically muted.
Okay. Did it ask for your permission?
Yeah, it asked for me the permission and I told okay.
Did you
I already
select a screen and share it?
know. So okay.
It's somewhere on your taskbar, still waiting. There you go.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yes, I have control now. Just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can still type something in here. Um, Guys, if I am drawing this, do you see this?
Yeah. Which one are you saying?
Everybody else? If
No,
I'm
no,
drawing in,
no,
if I
No.
draw, I'm drawing an arrow right now. Do you see it?
no.
No.
You don't see that. Okay, so I won't be able to do that. But will I be able to write here? Can you see me writing?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
when? Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right, cool. So I am doing the writing in just this computer right now. Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Wow, this technology is amazing. Every time it just blows my mind. So scenario title or scenario is excellent, and I wouldn't change a thing. You're given this part is also excellent, wouldn't change a thing. Remember, always it has to start with either given, when, and, or then. So the sentence cannot start without this word given, when, then, and. So you can have in any combinations, but generally given comes first, and then when, and then. Very hard to explain that. So what I would do is change this sentence here and say when a user, valid user, and say it from a third person perspective. Instead of using I, use user. Um, I uh, there's alternation between user and I see here, so you want to just clean that up. So I would do like this. When a valid user um, opens open the given web page using the credentials, it's a lot you wrote. It's detailed. It's really good, but understand that we're not looking for grammar here, and we're not looking to write a lot. Because if you write a lot, somebody trying to test your test case, they have to read a lot. And if they have to read a lot, they may not do a good job. They might skip halfway. They may not want to read the whole thing and might make a mistake. So you want to keep it as simple as possible. So given a valid user logged in, it's not typing right now. Come on. There you go. Logged into text files. And that's good enough, guys. If I tell you that a user logged into text files, you are smart enough to understand that you have to put in the username and password that's provided in this given. I mean, I I I doubted that you would be confused at this point because you've already seen that. So therefore, you don't really have to go deeper into this. You need to go deeper into your steps, that the feature that you're trying to test. You're not trying to test the login here. You're trying to test the password feature. So don't worry about wasting time in detailing about how you're going to log in. In fact, in my company, all I say is like this. I don't even put the credentials and stuff. We just say given. We put it into the given. Given a valid user logged into text files. That's it. I don't even have a given and a when. But in this case, it got broken down into two steps, given and a when, which is totally okay. But you want to go faster? Just write given a valid user logged into text files. That's already telling that you have put in the credentials. You have went into the dashboard page of that um, application. I'm going to take this off right now because I want to go with what he has. when user clicks on when user clicks on, do it in a present tense, my account, which is the menu, and went on to the change password icon, you want to say, and goes to change password page. All of those are pages. Again, present tense.
Mm-hmm.
Goes to change password page. But you can say click on change password page.
But still, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there is password icon. If you don't click and do everything, then it will not. So it is one test also that change password icon works. So would you like to say that the password change page or password change icon? First, you have to click on the icon, then you have to go to the change page. So
yeah, so this is a vague way of saying change password, but you can always say click on.
Okay. Okay. It doesn't matter. Just this is my curiosity.
Same. Actually, it's totally okay. No worries at all. Clicks on change password. You can say icon. That's totally fine. I use page.
Okay. No matter. You go ahead and you do on your way. So
No. I welcome the arguments. It's all good. It's all good. Look, this is how we learn from one another. So no worries. So now clicks on change password icon. So now you are already on change password page here, and user typed the current password in the. So I would say user types and types the current password in the given field. That's fine.
Enter?
You can say you can't say enter. Well, yeah, enters. You can say enters. You can say types. Types works too. Yeah.
Because I did put enter, so I'm just making sure. Should I correct myself?
Yeah. It has to sound like as if you're giving instruction to somebody to use that feature. So if enter sounds better to you at that moment, then use that. There is no rule saying you cannot use enter or you have to use types. Okay, there is no rules. Yeah.
Just double checking. Thank you.
And types the new password and confirms the new password by typing again. That works too. Click the submit button. Over here, this clicking on the submit button is still an action. And since you're not validating anything here, let me zoom in a little bit more.
And when?
Therefore, this would still be a when statement.
Yes.
And because you already have a when right here, and these ands are following the when, more of a sentence structure this would be is if you just write and, because you're still doing this user action here. And clicks on the submit button. Now we're validating something. See, you said it gave a message of password change successfully. So this then is correct. Instead of it gave, always try to think of the sentence with the word should.
Shows.
Should.
Is it shows?
You can say shows, but you have to use the word should. So can you rephrase this for me using the word should?
Okay, yeah. So then it should give a message of password change successfully.
Correct. So it should.
Can I say something?
Stanley, go ahead.
Yeah, I think one line needs to be added that it after and clicks on the submit button, then it takes to the login page. Then it shows the password change because the login page is going to be changed.
Is it
Yes.
right after this, right?
Yes. 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 It is absolutely
No,
right.
no, right after the submit button, it
Mhm.
takes you to the login page. Then you
Yeah.
can see the green box. It shows the password change successfully.
I see.
He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right.
Yeah. Definitely we can add that in there. So let's do this. Yeah, thanks for recommending. So then user is navigated. This is the word, navigated back to the login page. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're validating whether you're right after you hit the submit button, does it kick you back out into the login page? And now that I have it then in front of it, I don't want to repeat it then. You want to change that to an and to make it more sound. Kind of like this. Then user is navigated back to the login page and it should display a message of password change successfully. So you're validating now two things. One is the page, and then the other is the message to getting displayed. Okay. Next is when user
when use the username and old password.
So over here needs a little more because so you're trying to log back in here, right?
Yes.
When user
So this is negative case comes first. So I should
Right.
change the wording.
Right. So when user logs in with new password, and you don't have to elaborate anymore, click on the sign in button, because with this one statement, user logs in with new password, the tester will understand that there is a few more sub steps underneath this one step.
Right.
Make sense?
Yep.
Because if every single time you have to spell it to them that, oh, you put your username here, you put your password here, and then you have to click on the sign in button over and over again, it gets tedious for somebody to read through that, and B, it's hard for you to write all those sentences up there. It's not really needed. It's at this point we already know that for me to log back in with a new password, I have to put in my username, password, and hit submit button anyway. So when a user logs in with new password, we can take this sentence out.
Okay.
Oh, you are doing a negative test case here.
Yeah,
It
it was
showed.
negative test case first.
Yeah, negative to later. So over here, I would say then.
This can you see?
Yeah.
Then I was able to open the page again.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take this sentence.
Yes.
You don't need a period or full stop on this. I'm gonna pull this right up here.
Mm-hmm.
Then user
was able. User is able.
Yeah. So watch this.
Then the user should be able.
should, always use the word should, be able to open the page again.
The
I would
page.
rephrase this because it's not very specific. Should be able to log in.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
So over here, we're doing a negative test now. So
Yes.
let me just write this here. When user logs out, hard to type, there's a delay on.
Yeah.
And if you move your mouse, that cancels my operation too. So let me do
No,
the driving here.
I'm not doing it.
Okay. All right. Maybe it's me. When user logs out and log back in with
Old password.
old password, then invalid password message should display. Any question? Any question?
No.
No.
Stanley?
No, it's fine. Good.
Okay. There is a problem with this test case, and that is not a problem, but whenever you do this test case, changing something that is so important that you have to come back and put it back the way it was. That means anytime we have a change of password sort of test, when we have them, I have to write another test case, making sure that I put it back and test the put back was working fine or not, which you saw how I kind of walked just through of putting it back to ABC 1, 2, 3 and restore that situation. Now I have some test case automated that does that, and every now and then the test case fails halfway, meaning it doesn't go all the way to restore that password. We got a big problem in that case. Now I only have it for one particular user that I changed the password that no one else uses. So when it fails, it really doesn't affect anybody because nobody logs in with that user to go in. I told everybody that don't use this. I'm going to use this particular user and password for only testing the change of password and fixing back the password. Therefore, I don't mess up. Even if my automation fails and the test wasn't able to complete the change of the password and no login works, I have ways to go in as an admin and totally revamp the password and start from scratch up. It's a mess. I mean, the testing password is like a big mess. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. And Chisti, amazing job. This is a winning test case. So thank you so much. Do you have anything to add before I move it to another candidate?
Okay. Thank you so much for your support and suggestion. Yeah, I'll follow like this. I got the point actually, but I couldn't write it. So I should give you another one information that was important. That is actually because of the limitation of time, because I came back from work at night, and then after getting fresh, I started doing my homework. So I was running behind probably. So I tried another one. I'm not sure whether it is bug or not, but it seems to me that this is bug. So
Let's since due to the limited time we have, and I still got some information that I need to present for today's class. Let's talk
yeah,
about that later. Let
yeah,
me move
that
the
I'm
floor.
asking that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me move
go
the
ahead.
floor to someone else. And
Yeah,
just for the interest of time, but please keep that in mind. I do want to see it. Maybe not today. I also got an event right after the training that I need to go to. So maybe next weekend, just point it out to me and I'll see it. Okay.
okay, all right, that
All
is
right.
good.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
How about Raju? Did you do your homework?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh,
Let me send you this request to present.
okay. Mm-hmm.
I am going to request keyboard and mouse control, but I'm not going to use it until if you really need me to. So
Okay.
just go ahead and continue demo like as usual. Right now it's asking you to share your screen. You may have to click on the screen,
Yes.
then click the share button. I can see your TIC file site. Very good. Continue.
Okay. I've already logged into the TextFiles site,
Mm-hmm.
and this is my classic test case. The scenario is the add new account. This is the feature under bank and cash menu. Okay. So web, the precondition is web address, given a web address and a username, password, and data account.
Could you please go back and show us what exploratory testing you did? Go ahead and demo the feature on that website first before you demo the test case.
Okay.
How does it work?
If you give a title and a description, and you have to give put an initial balance. If you put the submit button, it says that account created successfully. So we're
Are you
writing
able
the case.
quick question, sorry. Are you able to see that account created in any other page? Does it work? Now we got the validation message showing account created successfully. Is there a page that you can see all those accounts? Like a
No,
balance
I could not
sheet?
see. I could not see that
No, I also tried. I couldn't see it.
Okay,
because I
so
tried also. I could not see. Only it shows that the account created successfully, but it doesn't display anywhere.
and you are right. This website is not designed very well, so I believe you. That means there's no other way you can validate this other than
Yes.
just that
I
message
only just
showing.
check this option only.
Okay.
So the test step is go to the site. Number 2, fill in the form, and number 3, click submit button. And the expected condition is number 1, TechFile site should display. Number 2, form should be filled in. Number 3, account will be created. And the actual result is for number 1, TechFile site was displayed. Number 2, form was filled, and number 3, account was created. So I mark it as passed.
Good job. I like the way you framed it. Now go back up. I'm gonna need to add a few things here.
Okay.
So absolutely love the way you have created this form of writing in columns, and it's very easily readable. I really like how you kept it down to 3 steps. Look at that step number 2, guys. The fill in the form. His word of fill in the form gives the user already an understanding that they would have to put information in those input boxes, and it's totally okay for you to write it this way instead of saying put in a username or put in a name, the amount that you want to deposit, initial deposit, and so forth. Now, in your test case, however, you do want to give them some idea whether they want to, you might want to say fill in the form with random values.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because if you don't, then the tester who never wrote this or never tested this feature will be like, what did he mean by fill in the form? Are they supposed to give me that test data of the name of the account and how much money to put in? And if there is any unique something that I have to add into it, they might get a little confused. So you want to add that. On your expected condition, on number 3, your number 3 expected is like the most important piece because this is what you're validating. Now, account will be created. That is kind of vague. Like, how am I supposed to know the account got created? Now, on your actual result, you said account was created successfully. It was a message that got displayed. So to be more specific, go into number 3, or I can go into number 3. Hang on a second. Let me see if it works. Yeah. So what I would do here is say more specifically, account created successfully, message and display. Specific.
Right.
And over here, you're going to say account created successfully, message displayed.
Right.
In a past tense, that you found it displayed. Like that.
Right.
Okay. All right. You
Yeah.
can move on to the next. Anybody has any questions on this before we move on to his Gherkin test case?
Number 3 of the expected condition. So account created successfully or account should be created successfully. Number 3.
So let me expand this.
Account created successfully, that is not expectation to my concept. Account should be created successful message showing the display.
It means the same thing, Chisty. Yeah.
Created.
If that is not the wording that's on that message that got displayed,
No,
just
no,
kind of
that should
copy.
is given later because we are not confirmed that the account has been created or not. Just we are making sure that the message is given. So we are actually emphasizing on the message.
Oh yeah, I got it. You're right.
So account created successfully, message should display.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Because you see that just because the message said account created successfully does not necessarily mean that it really did.
Yeah.
Because we were not able to validate it on another page to see if that name of account that we created shows up. So we don't know. We just know that message said it got created. But because the application has limitations, it doesn't give us another page to validate. What are we going to do? We are limited. So the only thing we can do is, at this point, validate to see if the message displayed. If message displayed, we're going to call it a done. But that still doesn't say that whether the account got created or not. You as a QA, you need to go back to your team and say, hey, where else can I find this account? Because I can validate the message, but I'm not satisfied with that. I don't have a way to see where this account got created and where is it staying. Is it staying, or it got created, it got deleted right away, that we don't have access anymore? How am I going to interact with this new account that I just created? I need a way to interact with it. So you go dig a little bit deeper. Your business analyst might just say, yeah, that feature we did not develop yet. It's coming. You might just wait for that feature to come back up with another page to display and search the account that you just created. In that case, you would come back to your test case and you would add a couple more steps in here with a couple more validation. At that point, you're probably going to add that when user goes to new accounts page and searches for the new account created, then new account should appear. Something like that. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Moving on to your Gherkin test case.
Okay. This is my Gherkin test case, and we'll test on a new feature. Sorry. Let's add deposit. Okay, it is under transactions menu. If we click on the new deposit, new window opens, add deposit. If we choose an account like ABXC, the description like AAA, and if we put any amount like $100, and if we submit, and if we click the button, no, sorry. Okay, I cannot see the full screen here actually. It is showing under AAA, the $100 has been deposited, isn't it?
I can see it.
Okay, I cannot see. Anyway, so.
Raju, you can make your meeting controls window smaller. I think that's kind of on top of it. There is a button, you're going to see an arrow. The two
Yes.
arrows may be pointing at each other on the top of your meeting control. If you click on that, your controls will become smaller. I don't know if
Okay.
that's the case or not. But anyway, I can see it. I can see your full screen.
Okay, so the Gherkin test case is the scenario is at deposit, and given a valid user logged in, when user clicks on new deposit under transaction module, then add deposit page should display. When user fills in the add deposit form with random and click on submit button, then new deposit should display in new deposit table. When user clicks on any item from recent deposit table under recent deposit menu, that is there was option recent deposit. Yes. So when user clicks on any item from recent deposit table under recent deposit menu, then edit transaction window will open. You see, edit transaction window will open. And when user edits any data and clicks on submit button, then edited data should display in new deposit table. Like if we edit anything, it will show in this table. Can you see?
Yes, you may have to scroll down just a little.
So actually, that's what I did.
This is excellent. I don't see any ways to improve this any farther. You guys have any questions on this?
Can you go a little bit up, please?
So scroll up, Raju.
For the scenario, he said add deposit. Can we write like transition should display in the new deposit? Because
Yes.
I did that too. So just making sure.
Yes. It does. It's scenario title. There's no right or wrong. As
Oh,
long
okay.
as your scenario describes what you're trying to test here is good enough. So this is probably the shortest scenario you can do, add deposit. And you can add more to it if you want to. Yeah, so if you wanted to elaborate on this to see, because he also did some editing even after he added the deposit. So if he added like this, user can add and edit deposit. That will be a little more. I'm gonna add this in there. Users can add and edit deposit. That will be more, a little more details of basically what's going on in these steps right here. So good advice is that you might start adding a deposit and you do your test case and you're like, looks like, well, I'm there already. Why don't I just do some edit, or why don't I do some changes and then do other things while I'm at it? And your test case might end up becoming big. If you wanted to come back at that point on your scenario and change the scenario a little bit more, refine it to actually give the whole picture of what you're doing in that test case, totally allowed. Please do that. No worries in changing things up and updating this. This is a work in progress, guys. Once you create a test case, it's not the end of the world. You come back to that test case and you may have to update that test case based on if the developer created a new feature or maybe added something in there or maybe modified the feature a little bit. You're going to come back and fix that. Your test case is a living document. So whenever this feature changes, you have to come back to your test case and change your test case accordingly for the feature that you're trying to test. Overall, Raju, you did amazing. This is very good job. So kudos to you. Thank you so much for presenting this.
Thank you, too.
You're welcome.
I have a question. When
Yes.
he's showing that, because I write it on the page, can you check it? I should add some more, or I am okay? Because I write the same test case
You
he
have the
wrote.
same test case, so that'll be something really good to show side by side. So how about this? Let me give you the presentation
But
print
I
right
didn't
now.
wrote it on the page. I wrote it on my paper like a notebook. I can't show it.
Like on a physical paper, or
Paper.
is it a
Yeah,
notepad?
so I wrote it on the paper. I didn't have the time for that. But
Okay,
I have
so
the other one, Christy did, so it is in my note, sticky note. So
okay,
just he was there, so I can tell what I wrote. Given when then, kind of like that.
okay. So let's do this. You go ahead and
Yes.
tell me what you wrote, and I'll probably open up a notepad here.
Okay, sure. That would be great.
No, that's not the. What do you have?
So for the scenario, I wrote transaction should display in the new deposit.
Transactions
Should
should display in
in the
new.
deposit.
Okay.
Given
Hang on a
valid
second.
user login. Oh, I'm sorry.
Transactions should display in. Taking me back. It's not acting. Raju, are you trying to move your mouse?
Oh, you are under control still?
Yes.
Okay,
So
okay,
just
okay.
bear with me 1 second. I'm so sorry.
Sure, it's okay, no problem.
Transactions should display in new transactions page. You would want to say, you probably trying to create a
I
new
said
transaction
new
here, right?
deposit page or something like that. It
You
was a
didn't put it.
deposit.
Okay. I'll just write what you wrote. Go ahead and tell me. Given.
New deposit, I said, page, not transaction page.
Okay.
Given valid user logged in.
Mhm.
When user goes to transaction menu,
Go ahead.
and user select new deposit page, and user choose a valid account with unique ID,
Mhm.
and enter a random date and enter a random deposit, description, sorry.
Mhm.
And enter a random amount and click on submit button.
Mhm.
Then transaction added successfully should display.
Mhm.
This is what I wrote.
This is excellent. Absolutely excellent. Totally works. You guys noticing that it's testing the same thing, or at least very similar things, uh, but written in totally, well, not totally, but somewhat differently. But both of them are basically testing the same thing now. And you might be asking, why is that? Why can't Stein tell me that this one is wrong and this one is right? Why is he telling me both are right? It's kind of like this. Your job is to go into the kitchen of the house. You have to go through the front door, which is like login page. You gotta go to the front door. You have to show them your badge that you came here for testing a microwave that got broken in your house. and you need to go into that kitchen and test the microwave. Now, there is no right or wrong way to do it. You could be walking your way into the kitchen and then try to test the microwave. You could be crawling your way into the kitchen and do the microwave. You can fly there if you're Superman from the door to the kitchen to test the microwave. You could be using different tools to test the microwave. You may not open the microwave to actually turn it on. You might just unscrew everything, go inside and test it. So what I'm saying is you are basically doing the same task, but you're not doing it exactly same way as someone else would be doing. But as long as you finish your task, no matter how you do it, it works. As a matter of fact, over here, this enters a random date, enters a random description. You're going to see a lot of these random functions come up when we're going to be doing the automation. So I like this that you have this random here. I also like, notice what Raju has is he has validations every step of the way. Like he has a when and a then and a when and a then. Let me scroll down here. He has a new deposit. Oh, sorry. Click on submit button and immediately he has a then. New deposit should display in the uh, deposit table. He has a when over here and then a then right there. So immediately he is following that with some sort of validation along the way. It's kind of like he walks through the front door. He is on the hallway and he's like, I should be on the hallway when I walk through that front door. Then he's like, when user from the hallway gets into the living room and goes to the kitchen, instead of saying and, he's like, when user goes to the living room, then living room should display. So his job was to go test the microwave in the kitchen. He has not even gone there yet, but he's like, well, I am going to be testing the hallway, validating I'm in the hallway. I'm going to go through the living room. I'm going to validate that I am in the living room. Then I'm going to go to the kitchen and I'm going to validate that I landed in the kitchen. And
I
only
have
then
one more
I'm going to
question.
go into the microwave and test the microwave, and then I'm going to validate whether I tested the microwave or not. So he's trying to wrap up, he's wrapping up all of these little boxes. He's even testing whether this table is getting displayed or not. He's testing, he's validating whether this edit deposit window is getting validated or not. Both are good steps. Both are good test cases. Now, in some
And I have a
cases,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
Can you go to his page when he was presenting, when then?
Okay,
That page.
where was that?
Oh,
This one.
so when he said when, then he can say after that and, or he should go to the then, the third one.
Immediately,
When?
very good question. Immediately after when,
Mhm.
if you want to validate, you
Uh,
have to start your first validation statement with the then.
but the next one, he said when, then he went to the end. So I was having issue like, can we put end after when?
Absolutely. You can mix it up any way you want to. How am I going to validate? How am I going to check to see whether you got it wrong? Here's what I'm going to do. Whenever I hear the word when,
Mhm.
I am looking for, is this user action or is this a validation? Look at this. User. That word user tells me it is a user action. I don't need to read anymore, but if I want to, I can. I can see this clicks. This word clicks is an action. It's a verb. That verb tells me it's an action. Immediately, I know that his statement starting with a when is accurate. But if he had a then
No,
right
no,
here,
that
I know
was
that
not
he got
the
it wrong.
question.
But hold on, let me finish
I have
this.
a question.
Let me finish
Okay.
this. So right after this when, I look at this then and immediately I am asking for, this should be a validation. So let's see if this is a validation. and I want to look for the magic word should, and I see add deposit page should display. Okay, now he added another when, and that means immediately he validated something. Now he's adding another action, meaning he's not done. So after the when, I look at this user fills in, which is a verb and has a user, so he's appropriate. Now, after doing that, he added an and. Guess what? That and means to me is nothing but when. Because whatever this and follows is what that is. So this and is not a then. This and is a when because it followed when. So I want to see a user action and I see click. So I see that's a user action. He's still good. He
But
went
can
back
we
to
put
then.
the then over there?
Hmm?
Because we are still validating, am I right?
He validated and then he moved on to some other user actions and he's validating something else again.
So after like a when, then we can put and again. Am I right? I was thinking the rules I
Absolutely.
saw like a when, then, and, kind of like that. So
No, yes, good question. You can mix it up, but
okay.
you are never gonna see this given again.
Can I add something?
Yes, Raju.
Yes, because when I am saying user fills in the add deposit from the random, actually there will be no action. I am just filling it, and until I am clicking on the submit button, there will be no action. So until I'm adding this, I cannot validate anything. That is why,
You mean validation.
yes.
Right. So what he meant is when he is filling in this add deposit, there is no validation. There's nothing to do. You're just adding information. Yeah, that's what he meant. And what Loretta meant is that what if am I not supposed to go back to when? Is there's like given when and then we're done. I can't do when anymore. That was her confusion. But the answer is yes, you can. You're only going to see one given, but this when and then is going to keep on alternating, and you use the word and whenever you need to, when you are repeating it. Whenever you're repeating a when, you use and. Like right here. He wanted to use a when here. Another action, he wanted to use a when here, but instead of repeating when, he added the and to be more grammatically correct. You don't want to
Can
have
I?
this and right here, by the way. Because if you have that and right there, I would say go ahead and drop it down, create a separate sentence with that. Why? Because this is how it's going to be automated. And I'm just giving you the rule, follow this way so that your automation would be seamless. I don't have to teach you this when I'm going to take you to really automate this step. Stanley, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. The thing is like when is represents a user actions, right?
Correct.
So if the scenario needs more than one user action back to back, I mean after one after another, then we need to use the first user action as when, and following actions will be and. Is it like that?
Absolutely. I think you said it better than I could.
I mean, if I have three user actions back to back, one after another, then first one will be one, and the second one will be and, third one will also be and. Is it like that, right?
Correct. Correct.
Thank
So
you.
let's
Thank you.
say if I were to throw
Am I?
something at here, right here where he has this then statement, and look at this, edited data should display in new deposit table. If he wanted to even validate one more thing, in that case, he would have to use the word then, correct?
Yes.
But he already used the word then right here.
I could add here and.
Correct. Instead of adding then, you could just say and. Guys, and is like the English word of connecting two sentences. So notice that he is just connecting this sentence, whatever he's going about to write here, with this then statement. So he's still right here on that same sentence. It's still doing the same thing, which is that validation point. He's still in validation. He's doing multiple validation. He did a validation here, and he's going to do another validation here. He could be saying that the the new deposit should be in the database. That means he went even farther into the database to check to see if that data is in the database or not. And that would be totally okay as well. All right. Good discussion, good questions and stuff. I think this work from here, we were able to go pinpoint a lot. I'm going to stop here for presentation for anybody else because I have some materials that I need to cover. Any last questions before we go out for a 5 minutes break and come back in?
Just one thing, like for the then, like to validate, we have to use should.
Always.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yes. Every time I see a then statement, I am looking for the word should. You should structure your sentence with the word should. If you do it with the word should, you are always going to be accurate. Now, is there other ways to do it? Yeah, but I don't recommend you go there because then it's going to get complicated for you. I want to keep things simple. As a matter of fact, I never use any other validation sentence without the word should because I don't want to complicate things on my testers who are going to be testing the test case that I write. If we follow a simple rule, it's going to be easy for everybody to follow. Don't try to make it any fancier than that. Then it's going to get complicated. Any other questions before we close this? All right. Thanks, guys. Let's take 5 minutes break. Thanks, Raju. I'm going to take the presentation of that right now.
Thank you, Tim.
Hey guys, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, great. So now you saw how test cases are written. This is not only time that you're going to be writing test cases. You're going to be writing these test cases as we go all the way to our 16-week. So don't be afraid that, oh, I did not learn this well and I'm not going to get an opportunity to learn this. No, you're going to be getting opportunities to learn this on a weekly basis. And I welcome you to challenge yourself in writing more test cases, not just in that TechFiles website, but go to Priceline, go to some other website you use. Obviously, don't transfer money from your account to someone else's account in real time. I mean, you can transfer your money from your account to my account and do an experiment like that. That's totally allowed. I'm just kidding. Yeah, just look at any kind of web application. You browse the website, you're on Facebook. Adding a picture on a Facebook is a feature. You can write a test case on that. And if you wanted to shoot that test case at me, you wanted to email that to me and say, hey, Stein, could you please look at this test case right here? I'm trying to test this feature. Can you give me your feedback? I am going to give you my feedback and hit a respond back to you. And you can learn it that way. So use my time that way. Do text me, call me, let me know that you did send an email because I don't check my emails on that. And I get recruiters slamming me with too many emails. It's crazy. So only if you point it out to me, I'm going to go in my inbox and search your email and then respond back to you. So use me like that. Feel free to do that. Every now and then, you can demo in the class as well. We'll have that opportunity as well. So no worries there, but keep learning, keep digging that direction. Today's class was that demo so that we learn from one another. And then I'm going to take you to the finishing part of this QA analysis, which is going to be your test management now. You know how to write a test case. Well, you got to manage those test cases because in your company, you're going to have about 300 to 500 test cases. If recruiters ask you how many test cases you have, that's a stupid question that they can ask you, but they will ask you to try to see if you're real. And in that case, you're going to say somewhere in about 300 to 500 test cases. Stick to that number. Be confident about it. Don't go back and forth to it. Just 300 to 500 test cases we have in our company, and we're adding more test cases as we speak. You don't know exact number. If they ask you how come you don't know exact number? Well, there's multiple teams adding test cases on every sprint, and we're not keeping track of how many test cases we have as a total in a company, but roughly about 300 to 500 test cases we have right now, and it's adding. That will be your answer. Somebody wants to be weird with you, somebody wants to ask you stupid questions. You don't want to engage in stupidity with them. Understand that when you go applying for a job, you are the professional. And these people that are recruiters that are interviewing you, they are not professional, meaning they don't make the same money you're going to be making. They actually get very minimal money. If they knew what you know, they would not be a recruiter. They would be actually doing as a test automation engineer. So you keep yourself classy while the interviewer might get nasty with you, but don't engage to that level. And don't panic. Don't be surprised. Say, oh, Stein didn't tell me. No, I want you to expect them to get nasty with you on some of these questions. A, they're jealous that you are so smart, you know this stuff, and you're going to get this $100,000 job that they can't. You make 3 times more than they do. They're jealous of you. But they also need you to get the job so that they can get their cut on the money. So they might be a bit arrogant. You might find them as well. Anyway, just take a step back, keep yourself professional in that. I'm going to show you how to manage these test cases And if you were to become a QA manager, today's class is going to be mainly for that. You really don't have to do a lot of management stuff. Everything is going to be set for you. You just go in and start writing test cases. That's it. But where you store those test cases, how you manage those test cases, you need to know a little bit. But as far as design perspective, you don't have to. So a lot of today's lesson is going to be more of a management stuff. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this, but let's just dive in really into what we have going on today. I'm going to skip through some of these you already know and jump right in here. Is you might be asking, well, now I know how to write test cases. Where should I write them? Well, that could be anywhere in your company that asks you to write them. It could be an Excel document where you may have to write your test case. It could be a Google Drive that Raju just showed how he wrote those test cases. It could be a sophisticated software that they have that you just downloaded one, which is TestRail. You could be writing there. Or maybe some other software that I've never even heard of. But never panic. This tool is called Test Management Tool. It could be TestRail, it could be piece of paper. It doesn't really matter. It's just a tool supposed to store your test cases and do some fancy things if possible, which I'm going to show you how they're done. So that's where you're going to keep and store your test cases, wherever your company has a tool and process. So always in the interview, if they ask you, hey, Parvin, do you have any questions for us? Yeah, yes, I do. I have a lot of questions, but one of the questions I want to ask you, where do you store your test cases? Please ask that question. It's going to show that you are so much into it. You're ready to jump in and start doing the work. If you don't ask questions, you're not getting the gravy points. So always do that. How can I select the right test cases to execute? That's going to be covered today. I'm going to show you how you do that. What can help me execute and report on those test cases? You're going to see execution and report is done through TestRail. What can help me analyze the test report? Some of those things we'll cover. And all of that, the answer to all that question is Test Management Tool. So TestRail that you have right now in your platform is a test management tool and will help you do all of this. Google Drive is not going to do that for you. A piece of paper is not going to do that for you. Excel is not going to do that for you. But Test Management Tool, a software, is going to help you do all of these extra stuff that you can't do it otherwise. Very first thing you need to know about going into Test Management Tool, a word that is highly used, is called repository or test repository. Test repository is like a warehouse where you store your test cases. Now, this word repository is like storage. I want you to think of repository as storage. You will hear this word a lot, even in automation, in some other context, repository. Sometimes they like to say repo in short and not even say this. It's not really a word, but they make it into a short word because they don't want to say the whole thing. So whenever you hear your colleagues talk about repo, I have a repo, you think of a storage. They have some stuff in it. That's it. Okay, just the storage. Right now, TestRail is acting as a test repository because it's going to store our test case. Here's a test case, there's a test case, there's a test case, here's a test case. Basically, it's going to store and stack them in an organized way so you can easily access them whenever you want to. That's number one purpose of TestRail. But that's not the only purpose. There's more. So anyway, going in here, a central location in which data is managed from is called a test repository. A central location where test cases are stored and managed. Okay. So that's just repeat right here. I'm just going to move forward. How can I select the right test cases to execute? That's where the question comes in of creating a test run. I just wanted to throw this in there so you can kind of think of this. A test run is a selected number of people that are doing the run. The others are probably on the side watching them because they're not the right candidates for this run. So they're just sitting there waiting right here. A test run is kind of like that. You may have a 500 test cases in your test repository, but you don't need to run all 500 test cases. You don't need to test. Run means test. You're actually testing them. You're preparing to test them. You don't need to test all 500. That's too much. Not needed. It might be that you might only need 200 test cases, specific ones. Because this is a warehouse, everybody stores everybody's stuff, and your developer may not even touch some of the other stuff at all. And you need to just focus on what your developer touched, okay? And you only test those. What do I mean by that? Well, imagine this is United States right here. I'm a bad drawer. So kind of sort of United States. And in here, you got this lots of states right here, various states here, various states here. And you are working right here. Your team is right here. All of these teams are writing test cases. So total test case is 500. If you test all 500 test cases, you are testing entire United States. But you don't really need to test entire United States in some ways. Let's say your developer only did something that's going to affect right here in El Paso, right next to the border of Mexico. All right. And he's telling you that, hey, I did not touch any other states or any other codes anywhere. Guess what? What you might do, you might say like, you are telling me you changed something here, so that could affect right here. I got 200 test cases to test this entire piece right here, everything in this state. And I got like 50 test cases to test that. Well, I might just be on the safe side and go test 200 test cases just in case. I believe you, but what if you're wrong? You're not going to tell him that, of course, but you go ahead and say, I will test 200 test cases, but I'm not going to test 500 test cases because that's going to take a long time if we don't have an automation. So this is where this test run concept come in. You are going to, whenever you have to do a regression, you don't always have to do that 500, but now sometimes you have to. In that case, your whole company might get involved and say, we got to do a complete testing of all the test cases that are there. That might be a special situation, but you might have a subset of that regression and then say, I'm going to just test 200. You create a test run to pull. So from 500 test cases, you go ahead and pull 200 test cases into a separate sheet of paper, which is electronic, and you have these 200 test cases. And in here, you go ahead and this will become a form where users or testers can go in and say, oh, I tested this is pass, I tested this is fail, I tested this is pass, and you'll get a wonderful graph showing what happened. I will show you that in real time shortly. So the definition of a test run is a selection of test cases assigned to selected people to be executed for specific environment within a limited timeline in order to generate a report which would aid in release decision. I wrote a lot. You don't need to repeat a lot when you're asked this question, what is a test run? If you can just remember a few highlighted things that I did here, um, obviously, first couple of things are number one, and if you miss out on some of this, you're still okay. If you can repeat this whole thing to your interviewer, then you're perfect. No. You already know what environment is, but this is a beautiful graphics to kind of show you what a test environment is. It's a set of software and hardware for testing teams to execute test cases. We talked about that we have a dev environment where developers do their work, and it could be something like dev.yahoo.com, dev.techfiles.com, and dev.masergy.com. That's my company that I used to work for. You got a testing environment for mainly for QA, but that doesn't mean you only test it here. You do your regression here. Okay, but you also test developers' pieces in small amounts. If they change here, you test that. If they change here, you test that. But in QA environment, you test everything and make sure this is solid before you move it to the production. And your URL could look like this. Could be qa.yahoo.com. They could use the word test.techfiles.com, or they could use the word staging.masergy.com. Different companies have ways of using different wording to designate this staging environment. You find out. You go to when you get hired, you ask them, what is the staging URL for the website we're going to be testing? And they can tell you either they use the word test or QA or staging. You ask them, what's the dev environment URL? Somebody has to give you these URLs because you don't know. You don't know if they're using the word dev. I work with a team right now, they use the letter D1. Okay. And they don't even use these words. They use SOC. They use the word SOC. I don't know what that means. I'd never really asked. I don't really care. As long as they told me that this SOC.masergy.com is my staging environment, I'm like, fine. I'll use that as a staging environment. I'll do my testing there. That's all. Next up, excuse me. And then you got your production environment, and why is it moving back? Yeah. And in production environment, you're going to get a clean URL. It's not going to have the dev, staging, and prod or anything in it. It's going to say yahoo.com or techfiles.com or masergy.com. Okay. Now, here's a test report. This is what I'm going to show you how it looks like. And what is it? It's a document. What is test report? A document with summary of test results. You are summarizing what happened in a graph. Green means pass. Red means fail. I'll show you a few other options, a few other statuses shortly. And where test status may include pass, fail, retest, not a blocker, and block. Let's talk about it. What is that? What do those things mean in the next slide? Based on which a release decision can be made. So why are we doing this? The whole purpose of this testing and report, we can give it a clear, a go, or a no-go, whether to release this application to production. If everything passes, obviously the answer is easy. You give it a clear. Go ahead and release the application to the customers. If you got a failure, which is right here, indicating 12 failed test cases, that doesn't automatically mean you are going to say no. That doesn't automatically mean that. You have to go as a human, intelligent human, to decide, is it a major failure? If it's a major failure that's going to cause company a lot of money, For example, let's say you're launching a product and the product, when the customer try to buy it, they're unable to buy it. Their credit cards don't get charged. Well, you're not going to release that because then that's going to block things. Your company might lose money. You're going to release where you might lose customers. They might try to buy it and then go away and not be able to buy it and never come back again. That will be a big loss. You don't want to release that. But what if, let's say, instead of that kind of big bug, you got a small bug that the customer doesn't even know? Something like the customer is supposed to see 12 rows of transaction, but instead they're seeing 15 rows of transaction. Well, no big deal. Yeah, that wasn't the requirement, but it's not going to break anything for the customer. Now they're seeing more. No big deal. So you look at all your failures and you're like, are they what they call a blocker bug? So there's two types of bugs. One is called a blocker bug. Now, let me get my notepad out. Two types of bugs based on severity. Severity means how serious are they? And one is a blocker level bug. That means you are not going to release that application. It means it's very serious. Could be loss of monetary loss. Monetary means money. Anything related to money, monetary loss. You're not going to release that. But non-blocker level bug, and that could be something like not so serious, can be released in the next sprint. Can be released and fixed later. No rush. And you can still release the application. You know what the problem is, and you can create a bug ticket and give it to your team to get it fixed later on. And they will probably pull that from the backlog and fix it in the upcoming sprint. Any questions about these two? Okay. What are the differences between test statuses? So pass means the feature demonstrated all expected conditions, and your decision for that is going to be go ahead and release it. Okay. Fail is feature does not perform as expected. In that case, generally you say don't release it. Okay, don't release it. If it's a blocker level bug, don't release it. If it's a non-blocker, then you can go ahead and release it. Okay. And next is a status that you can put in your report saying blocked. What that means is I wasn't able to test the feature for various reasons. And your reasons could be saying I did not have the test data or the feature was not ready. In that case, you cannot say a pass. You cannot say a fail. Unfortunately, you were unable to test it because they did not give you enough data, or maybe the software, maybe the feature was not completely developed yet. In that case, in that results column, that results, these are some of the options that you can do is you say that I'm blocked. And then we discuss about it, what blocked you. The other is retest. That means you tested it, but something was wrong. Maybe the network was down, something got messed up. So you should be able to test it again when the network is back up. So you coded it retest. That means I did not finish it. I tried to test it, but I got blocked. But maybe the blocker will go away in a few minutes or so. So I coded it retest for now. I'll come back to it and retest it. That's what the retest means. Test it, but not sure. Needs another retest. I cannot make a decision yet, pass or fail or not. Understand that your ultimate goal is this pass or fail. You want to be here. But if anything gets in your way, then it's going to be this. These are temporary status that you're going to give to your test cases when you do a test run. And here's another one, not a blocker. This is what we just talked about. So let's say your test failed. Your test failed. But you don't want that to stop release. In that case, you move that status from a fail after you deciding that, oh, it's not a major bug, it's a small bug. I'm just going to label it not a blocker. Meaning, don't worry about it. It is a bug, not a big bug. Go ahead and release, even though we have this bug. Then you change that status from a fail to not a blocker. And that means test failed, but should not stop the release. Any questions about these 5 different test report status that we are able to assign after we test our test cases? You've seen pass or fail before, so these are the 3 new things.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. So I mean, retest and block. We can't release the software if any test cases are retest or blocked, right?
So if you can, if you have a valid reason, let's say you got blocked, and the reason for the block is the feature is not available yet. It's not ready. It's not complete. It's not complete. The better word is complete. It's not complete. But you're not really releasing that. You have tested what you want to release. Those test cases, let's say, passed. You are regressing. So remember the 200 test cases? 50 test cases is like what you're trying to develop, what the developer just developed. The 150 other ones are the side things that you're trying to test to see if this new thing broke this one or not. So if one of those things right here, you're blocked from testing because it's still under construction, has not been developed yet, that's not going to affect that 50 things that you're mainly worried about. In that case, you just call it blocked and you move on and you still release it. Now, that whole thing can change. Let's say you're trying to release something that got developed that you're testing for, and it's within that top 50 test cases, and you are blocked in testing that. Oh, yes. Somebody has to unblock you because you need to test that. You need to make sure you change that status from block to be able to test it and go here, either pass or fail. If it's a pass, release. Fail. If it's a blocker type of bug, don't release. If it's a minor bug, talk to your team. If they think, no big deal, users will never find out, we'll just fix it next sprint. Then go ahead and release it. Any other questions? Right. Now, there's a lot of tools out there, guys, on how to do these reports and stuff. And you need to know some of these names. The most popular one is this Quality Center. It's called HP Quality Center, so memorize it. or sometimes called ALM. I want you to focus here and memorize this word, Application Lifecycle Management, in short, ALM. Recruiter might ask you from this. Recruiter might say, do you have any quality center experience? All it does is store your test cases, does just like TestRail. TestRail is cheap. It's cost $4,000 a year. Quality Center might cost $20,000 a year. It does the same thing. It almost looks the same, but some companies have a lot of money, so they want to go with that. Other companies don't have money. Some are free, and I have not explored into the free world yet, which I'm currently doing. They're coming up. More and more, these applications are getting free and free. But unfortunately, I have not found one yet. I might even show you, be able to do that for you guys later down the road. Now, you only have 2 weeks of subscription trial version with TestRail that you downloaded. After 2 weeks, you won't be able to type anything, run anything, nothing. So you're done. Within this 2 weeks, if you don't really go in there and start practicing, you lost your window of opportunity. You may have to create another new email to try to create a new user to go in there to set it up again, which is hectic but doable. I recommend that you do this homework today, this week, and get your hands-on practice in there so that you get comfortable with this, how to do this, which I'm going to demo you right now. The other names, I would say, if you want to watch a couple of videos on this, go to YouTube, type in what is PractiTest. Go to YouTube, what is Tarantula? All right. Just put like 2-3 minutes video of how they use their test management tool to store and run your test cases. So there's a lot. You don't need to know everything. If you know a few things, if the recruiter says, hey, have you ever used TLC or TCL? And you're like, no, I know what it is. In our company, I use TestRail, but they work the same way. Wow, you just got a gravy point from there. But if they say, have you ever used TCL? And you're like, I don't know what that is. Well, then you might ask them, is it a test management tool? Or is it an automation tool? And he says, yeah, it's a test management tool. And you're like, ding, ding, ding. I use TestRail in my company. Okay. Which serves the same purpose. And then he might ask you about some questions about how do you do test run, test reports, and so forth. And you talk from the perspective of TestRail, because this is where you work in. Your current project is this, not all these other ones. So don't shy away from answering questions from these. Okay. In this PowerPoint, by the way, I do have a couple of videos that you can watch. This will give you a 5 minutes overview of how TestLodge works. The next video is IBM Rational, and this one is HP ALM, which is the most popular one, most expensive one out there. I cannot guarantee which company you're going to get a job with and which test management tool they're going to be using. But I guarantee you that if you practice in TestRail, you will be able to do this anywhere. You just have to ask them, hey, where do I put my test case? Do you have a system of putting the test case? How do you like to put these test cases in which sections and so forth? That's how you want to approach that. Never feel threatened that, oh, you don't know the skills. You don't need to know everything. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Now let's go to TestRail and see how we're going to do this. When you open up the trial version, you have been given a URL from this website called GoRock Team. And you have also given an email to confirm that you have a valid email. After confirmation, you've given your temporary username, password, and your specific web address. I gave my web address name Purification, so you still have that information, only work for 2 weeks. I opened up the same way you did, so I'm going to click right here and go into that. This is my TestRail. And please ignore this. I was just playing around with it last night just to kind of refresh myself to see if anything changed on their application. But sometimes they do change things. So just ignore this. This is nothing. You're not going to see that on yours. I'm already logged in, but if let's say I wasn't logged in, let's say I log out, I would have to use this username. Copy that and put it right here. And notice this URL starts with my name, purification.testrail. That means they actually took my whatever I put in as a URL. They created a cloud account for me. I'm in their cloud. I'm in their storage device. I'm not using my local storage. So I go in, put the password that they gave me, sign in, and I'm in. Okay? What are you going to have to do for the homework? Your homework is you create a project and then you write your test cases, which I'm going to show you right now. By the way, you also have a video to actually walk you there. So here's the homework. You go to this page, Test Execution and Management, scroll down to homework, and there is a video on how to use test process. And this is going to walk you through. The link to that is also, just click on this, and it's going to, from all the way from downloading it, which you have already done, it's going to show you exactly what I'm about to show you and create this for you. So if you need assistance, just do this. It's about 13 minutes video. Okay. So what are you going to do? You are going to do what the video shows how to create a test run. You're going to go into your text files that you did before. This is for installing. You already done that. So you're done with step 1. You start with step 2. Create a project, add sections, test case, and this is your another opportunity to go into your that website techfiles.com, put in the username, password, and exploratory test, write a few more test cases, and put those test cases into the TestRail. After that, you assign test cases, you execute the test case, and next week you're going to demo the class of how you did that. So how are we going to do it? Here's what you're going to do. Very first thing you want to do when you see this page right here, you want to go in here and create something called Add Project. Add Project is that first step in creating and storing your test cases. Now, you may have multiple projects. What is a project? Well, every application is a project, meaning you could be working for Bank of America, and Bank of America may have a Bank of America.com for customers. They may have a website called human personnel.com, and that could be for managing the people that work in there. They could be have a called loan department. .BOA or bankofamerica.com. And you as a tester, you're not only going to be testing this bankofamerica.com, but also you may be testing this personnel.com, this loandepartment.com, and customers may not have any access to these at all, but only have access here. But this is for all the management that needs to take place. By the way, every company has more than 2 applications compared to what they have for customers. So there's a lot of work, a lot of testing on these things that needs to go in that we don't even see that it's even out there. Each of this is a project. So you would have a project for personnel.com. You would have a project for loandepartment.com. You would have a project for bankofamerica.com. Right now, we're just going to do TechFiles. I'm not going to write techfiles.com, but I'm going to say add project. This window opens up. All you have to do is type in the name TechFiles or the name of the application that you're trying to test. You can write an announcement if you want to that will be visible under the project name. You don't need to. You don't need to select some of these options, which you don't really need to know what they do. That's more of an architect level stuff. I'm not going to waste your time teaching that. All you do is give it a name and scroll down and hit Add Project. When you click on Add Project, first thing it shows up is these 2 projects that I have. You might just have one at that moment, but I had this. Also, I spelled it wrong because it was like 1 a.m. I came home and I'm trying to do that. My mind wasn't working well, and I was just playing around with it. Anyway, so I have this project right here called TechFiles, and I've created it. Now, I can either edit that project. If I click here, I can go in and say, oh, I don't like the name. For example, this price line, I spelled it wrong. I can click on this edit button, go in here and fix the spelling, price line, and then scroll down and hit save project. That's going to change the name to the correct name. I can edit it. But if you want to add test cases, you don't edit, you click on it to go inside that project. Now, how does it look like if I was on the dashboard? If I was on the dashboard, it's going to come up right here. Right there. There's a lot of other quick buttons right here that you can do from here that you can explore later. But first thing first, you go into that project, open it up, and you might see this. But what you need to do is go to test cases. Look at all these tabs right here. There is a tab for to do. Well, I'll explain that shortly. There's a tab for milestone. We're not going to do this. There's a tab for test runs and results. We're going to do this one. Biggest one is your test cases. This is where your test case is going to stay. So you come here and you go to this test cases tab, click on it, and it's telling you you are inside this project, but there is no test cases there. So what do you want to do? Do you want to add a test case? Or do you want to add a section? Well, of course I want to add test cases, but I got to organize those test cases in sections. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess. What do I mean? Not this one. I mean, if I go in here, log in, there could be like 300, 500 test cases. I don't want to just keep piling up test cases. There has to be an order of how I write the test cases. And where do I put it? How do I close it in a box? Best way to organize your test cases is based on the menu right here. All of these menus are an organization sections for you. So every single menu right here is a section, This is a section, and a section, and so forth. So I'm going to section out this test rail with these sections. So I'm going to start with the CRM parsed. So let me split screen and really do it quickly. Oops. There. And the other one was here. So I'm going to click on Add Section. It's going to give me this window. It's asking me what's the section name. And I'm going to say Dashboard. I'm going to say Add Section. And it's giving me another option here. Do you want to add a test case or do you want to add a section? Well, let me just go ahead and add sections today. So I'm going to click on Add Section and say CRM, Add Section. If I add a section from here, notice how the CRM kind of went in like a subsection for this. It didn't come in the same level. Also, if you look at this folder structure right here, it became a subsection. Unfortunately, there wasn't another way in here to do that. But what if I added a add section from this button here? So if I go in here, if I delete this one, I can delete it. Delete. But say add section, and let's see what happens here. CRM, add section. Now I got this section right next to one another, meaning they're totally separate from one another. So if you add a section from underneath this dashboard, then you get a subsection of the dashboard. But if you add it from here and look at this scheme, you can do it that way. Suppose I'm going to make a mistake and then I'm going to show you how to correct it. So I open up CRM and I notice that there's 2 pages right here. So I can have 2 more sections, one for add contact, the other for list contact. So I go under here and I add a subsection under the CRM. So I click on that and say add contacts, add the contact. This became, notice, a subsection of the CRM right there, which I wanted. But suppose I made a mistake. I needed another subsection here called list contact. But instead, I made a mistake and put it right here. List contacts. And notice that went into the wrong section. What you can do is you can click on it and drag it to where you want it. You want this arrow, see this green arrow? You want it to be right next to, right underneath that main folder, right underneath that main folder line. You bring it here, you let go your mouse, gonna give you an option says move here. You click on move here, and that brings it down. Well, it brought it way down as a main section that still didn't do the job. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to go next to this folder right underneath that and drop it there and say move here. And now it's looking okay. Notice that I have this dashboard as a main section, CRM as a main section, and add contact and list contact are subsections under this main section called CRM. Any questions so far? So in your homework, I would like to see some of this structure right here. You do it for all of these. Get your practice in to create this section. You do have to do this at your workplace. So this is your hands-on opportunity. I am now going to do the whole thing. Yeah, go ahead.
So we can do anything in both ways, either using the main GUI feature or the right side, the test case column that you showed, that from the main section to subsection. Any way we can do, either following any section, is it?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
You can't break it. If you mess it up, go ahead and delete it. Delete the whole thing. Start over again. Okay?
Mm.
So whichever works for you. And they have same buttons everywhere. Like they got this add section right here.
Mhm.
You can do it from there. You can do add section from here. So you can select saying that, okay, I want a subsection of this list contact. So you can click here and say add, and then say another one. And then you can bring it down here. Something like this. Move here, and it will become another section for you there. If you want to delete that one, I don't think right click that allows you to, but you come back here and say, I made a mistake. And you look for this X button. You have to hover over it. You hover over, you see that X come up. And then you click on this X button. It's going to ask you, do you want to delete it permanently? You click yes, I want to. And then you click on OK. This is like a little extra safety net so that you don't delete something that's very important that you already worked on for so many days.
So,
I'm going to go
so by
dive right into this
so
add contacts.
still, by mistake, if I delete something that was really important to me, so can I get it back?
Not that I know of. If you permanently delete it, it's gone.
So there is no option of temporary deleted and it's stored to the recycle bin like this. So in this program, it doesn't exist, is it?
It doesn't exist as far as I know.
Okay.
There may be a way to retrieve it, but that will be a very architect level question, which I'm not.
All right.
Meaning your data is in TestRail server. So you're going to have to reach out to TestRail and they'll be able to find out what got deleted. But it might cost us money if we want that support. So everything you write online, everything you do, even if it gets deleted, it's stored somewhere. It's archived. But how you get it is like question. There's no way I know of getting it from this UI. I'm going to go into this add contacts and I'm going to create this test case right here. Look at this panel, add contact. Fill in this form, submit. So let me say John Doe. And I'm not going to add anything else. John Doe test 1, 2, 3. Submit. It gave me John Doe test 1, 2, 3. It got created. Nothing else was needed. So that's my test case. Does it show up on the list contacts? Look at this. John Doe test 1, 2, 3 got created and it shows up here. So let's say I go here, do my exploratory testing, and I find my test case, and I'm like, I'm going to add a test case right here. So I'm going to go here, CRM. I'm going to go to add contacts. And inside add contact, I am going to add the test case. So I'm going to click on this button, add a case. That will allow me to write a test case. So I'm going to click on this and type in the scenario title or test case title. And I can keep it as simple as add contact. Or user can add contact. Add a new contact. Okay. If I hit this blue check mark, it saves it. At this point, notice I got a number. I got a test case number right there, automatically assigned, which is going to be unique. There's not going to be another C4. C stands for, in short, case number 4. So I got this test scenario right here, but there's nothing in it. I did not write the steps yet. So what you have to do is next thing you click on this and go inside it. So if I click on it, it opens up this window for me. In this window, you click on this edit button. That means now you're ready to write inside it, the pen and a paper. You click on that, gives you this form to fill out. Notice on the very top, you already got your test case scenario title right there. And then some drop down boxes and so forth. Some you may or may not use. Others you might find it interesting and use it. By the way, all of this is customizable, meaning tomorrow, if you don't want to see this box right here, you can, as an admin, take it off. You can, as an admin, take it off. But you are not an admin. You're not a QA manager. That's a job of the QA manager. Your job is to go in here and fit your test case the way they want you to. Understand that they may not do the way you write your test case, and you can't fight with them about it. You have to adapt to what the company wants you to do. I showed you an amazing way of writing test case. They may not know how to do that. You're not going to go wage a war saying you are wrong and I am right. No. You're there to make money, so do your job. If they ask you to write it their way, do it their way. Don't fight with them. So these are some of the things that are already going to be set up for you. You can recommend your manager saying that, hey, we never really use this. Can we take this off from the box? And your manager will do that. You might say, I don't really need this separate place for precondition and then the one for expected results right here. Your manager might adapt to that, but go slow. Don't try to change things when you get hired. First, learn and adapt. So here's what I'm going to do. This is telling me what section I'm in. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to leave it at add context section. Test template, if I play around with it, look what happens to these three things. If I say exploratory session, it gives me mission and goals. We don't use that. If I select test case, then it gives me precondition and this, which I'll show you in a second. And then if I say test case text instead of steps, then I get this precondition, steps, and expected result, which I'm also not going to use. So I'm going to go to this one called test case. If I choose that, I get this, and I'll show you in a second how I'm going to use this. The other one you see here is type order, other. Well, you scroll up and down, you're like, what could fit most likely here? By the way, all of this can be updated. All of this can be taken out, but again, your QA manager is going to do that, not you. You may not have permission to do that either. But you're like, okay, I see functional. I'm going to choose this is a functional test case. Or I automated the test case. I'm going to select automated test case. You choose. Because it has an asterisk, meaning you have to choose something, then go ahead and choose functional, because I don't know if it's automated. Or you're like, this is a good regression test case. Or is this a smoke or sanity test case? Then I'm going to choose that. For now, I'm going to choose regression. Priority, this is like, oh my God, I got to test this, or it's, something could break if I don't test this and then release it to production. Then you want to say high or critical. Critical is like the highest level of priority you can assign. Why am I assigning these? Well, tomorrow, if you wanted to pull this test case and you say, I just want to pull only critical test cases, out of 500, there's maybe 10, and I only want to pull just the 10. You don't have to go hand pick them. You just tell the program to give me all the test cases that have critical in them. And that's going to give it to you, which I'm going to show you shortly, real quickly. So you assign it critical and you leave this blank because you're like, I don't need it. And test type manual, this is a manual test case, so I'm not going to select automated because it has not been automated. You leave it blank, and these are not mandatory. So you're like, I don't care. Fine. You go in here, in your precondition, you can write that username and password that you needed, which was a something at techfiles.com. And ABC123. if you want to. But a lot of companies, they don't use this because they're like, yeah, we already know what the username and password is. So don't worry about it. Where you need to do is right here. You click on this where it says add first step. So you open that up. I click on it and it gives me this box. And even though it gave me two boxes, one is step description and then expected results, don't worry about this box. I want you to put your gherkin right here. This is not designed to put gherkin type of test cases by default. I don't want to go in and design it for you. It's going to take a lot of time and effort. So what I want you to do is when you write your test case, I want you to write all your test steps in one box. And don't worry about this, and don't worry about this box. Okay? So how am I going to do this? Here, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to write up my test case. I'm going to say, given user logs into TIC files, when user goes to CRM menu and user clicks on add contact icon, and now I'm filling out this form and adds full name or enters and types full name into add contact form and click submit, then let's see what happens. I would say and types full name into add contact form with a unique ID. I'm not going to write it, but you understand. I'm going to say test user 123 and hit submit. Then what is this thing? It's an image. I got this user ID right here. So you can say a panel should display with the user ID that I created this with. So I'm going to go in here and say then a panel should display with created with recently added contact with the added contact. Okay. So whatever the contact you added here has to show up in this panel right there. And I'm going to stop this and hit save. And this is how it's going to look like. You got your Gherkin test case and you got all of this. You can hit the back right here and go back into your CRM and add contacts. Just click on this and then it will take you back to this. Notice I only have one test case and that's this. Everything else is empty. So really quickly, I'm going to add another test case because it doesn't make any sense to just run one test case. So I'm going to go to list contacts and add a search right here. So I'm going to do a test case for search. Test user, if I type in test user and search, notice this test user shows up. So here's my test case. I'm going to go in here and go to under list contacts, click on add case and give it the name. User can search contacts. Hit save. Click on that test case to go inside. Click on this edit button to open up. choose a few styles right here. We're going to select test case steps. Type is other. We're going to say regression. Priority, we're going to say high. And precondition, don't worry about it. Click on add first step. Go in here, write your test case. Given valid user log into DeckFios, when user navigates to, look at this. Here's a new way for you guys. I can do a shortcut. I could say CRM with an arrow list contacts page. I just wrap two things in one now. User navigates to CRM list contacts page. Done. That means I go here, I'm already here. Now my next step, which is typing into this search box. So I'm going to say, and since I already have a when, I want to say and user types in an existing contact into contact name into search field, which is like, these are existing names. And I'm going to take an existing one and I'm going to type that in there to see if it filters through it. So I type that in there, test underscore user, and hit the search button. So I'm going to say, and click on the search button. So I click on the search button. Then only the filtered user should display. That will be my validation. Then only the filtered user should display. Or you could say then a relevant user should display. Some other users might have test underscore something and it might also show up here. That's what you're trying to say here. That's my second test case. I'm done. I hit save test case. I go back. By the way, another word for this is called breadcrumbs. Like right crumbs on the bread, kind of like bumpy like this. And these are those breadcrumbs. So you might hear that word come up. This is a breadcrumb. So I go back, clicking on the breadcrumb, and I got my two test cases right here. And I would like you to add test cases like this. Whatever you wrote for the homework goes in here. And if you didn't do your homework, write up some test cases, put it in here. Not just two test cases, go beyond, add more, demo that to me next weekend. Any questions before I move to how to create a test run? Oh, good. All right. All right. Now,
Can I get 5 minutes break?
I have a appointment at 1 o'clock, so I have to head out like really quickly. So I got maybe 15 minutes right now, and we'll
5
end the
minutes?
class.
5 minutes is good to me also.
Chisti, I'm on a time crunch, so I got 15 minutes right now. I'm going to have to end the class. So can we just wait 15
go
more
ahead,
minutes?
no problem. Go ahead,
Yeah.
no problem.
I got a 1 o'clock appointment and I have to be
Oh.
there. So trying to rushing through this a little bit, but we'll end it right now. We'll end it shortly.
All right.
So here's your test. You can always go back to this, return to dashboard, come back in here, DeckFios, click on this test cases tab, and it will take you right here, and you can see your test cases here, the way we saw before. Now, Imagine you got 500 test cases here. Okay, 500. And you're not going to do all those 500 test cases to test them. You only want to select a few to test it. How are you going to do that? Well, you're going to click on this button called Test Runs and Results. You click on that, open up this page. It's going to give you a button to create a test run. You click on the Test Run button. It gives you this form to fill out. It asks you for, hey, give it a test name. You can say regression, whatever. You can give it a date. Totally up to you how you want to name it. They even gave an example saying, yeah, some people like it this way. You got a preference thing. It's not mandatory. Milestone, not mandatory. Assigned to, not mandatory. Description, not mandatory. Over here, you have to come and choose one or two things. If you select include all test cases, it's going to give you all 500 test cases. Most of the time, you don't want that. That one is easy. If I just go ahead and select that, keep it selected and hit test run, add test run, look what happened. I got this page with the 2 test cases that I created earlier. Very easy. Let's go with this option first, this scenario. So I created a test run. This gave me this page with a beautiful little graph that has not been completed at all. And I can play around with this. So what I can do is in here, I would go in, and for your homework, I want to see this. I want you to show me that, hey, I created a test case and I gave it a status. I tested it and gave it a status. And here's what you're going to do. You are going to test this. Let's say you are testing this test case, which says user can add a contact. Over here, you're going to come in here and give it a pass or fail. Now, if you don't know what the steps are, you click on this test case. It will take you to this window. It's the same window where kind of like where we wrote the test case, but it's a little different. Watch this. Now it has a button called Add Result, which we didn't have before. We have a button called Start Progress. This is very optional. You don't have to do this. But what it does is if you click on the Start Progress, it's like it keeps track of how long it took you to test that. And then you can stop it. Really not needed. But let's say you're testing it. You follow this step. You go here, you follow this step. You never wrote this. Somebody else wrote it, and you're following word for word. And you see this panel got displayed and it's passing. Now what you do is you come up here, you click on this Add Result, gives you this window. These are the options that we talked about, blocked, failed, and so forth. You choose Passed. If you wanted to add a screenshot by any chance, you can add a screenshot right here, which I'm not going to show you today, and click on Add Result. It takes you out here. Notice this got turned into green because you called it a pass. You can also scroll down and see that it has some status right here saying pass and some information. You could write something in there if you wanted to as well for somebody to look at it. Now, if you go back and click on this regression breadcrumb, it takes you back to the test. Look at the graph now. Look at the pie chart. Half of it is green. The other half has not been done yet. And if you scroll down on this, you will see that this one is green and this one has not been done yet, incomplete. So let's say you go ahead and you do that. You go in here, you click on it, and suppose you already know what the steps are. Then in that case, you can go ahead and click on this and say pass or fail and say pass. It give you this window and you can hit submit. You can call it retest. And you can say a reason that network was down. And say add result. It's gonna, if you click open that, somebody goes in and says, why did he call it a retest? Your manager would be able to see, oh, because network was down. And it needs to be retested when the network is back up. Whatever that reason might be, it's just a tool that you can use. I'm going to go back in here. Suppose I'm going to fail this. I'm going to open this up. I go in here. I do the steps. And it fails on the validation. Then in that case, you can click on add result. You fail it. It becomes red. You say you account was not found. Was not found. You add the result. You go back, regression. This is how it's going to look like. Half of it pass, half of it fail. At this point, you take this report. Your boss has access to it as well. Everybody has access to this, even though it's in your account. And they'll be able to look at it. And you make your case, and you can discuss with your team whether this failure is a big problem or a small problem. Is it a blocker or is it a non-blocker level bug? If this is a blocker level bug, you don't release. Okay? So let me do this. Major blocker equals don't release. Stop release. They have to fix it before you can release. Or non-blocker. Then go ahead and release or deploy. Any question here on test run and test report? It's very simple, right? This is all you're going to be doing in your daily work. Now, real quickly, you don't have to do this. This is more of a management kind of thing. What I'm going to do is show you how managers do set up these things. And if you want to ever go into that direction, you can. If you are a manager, you're going to have this button called administration. If you're not a manager, you're not going to see that. Right now, you are a manager on what you downloaded, so you have this action button there. What I can do as a manager, I can go in here and click on this, and I can do whatever I want. However way I want to customize and set up this whole application is so wonderful. But I'm not going to show you all of these. I'm going to show you a couple of things. I can add a user. Let's say I add a user. I go there, it gives me an option here, add user. I click on add user, tells me what name. I'm going to say Chisti. And it's asking for an email, and I'm going to give it an email. chisti@gmail.com. I'm not going to email notification. I take that off. Use application default English. You don't have to really do anything. Whatever is in here is fine. And I'm going to say there's two options here. One, invite user via email. That means the user is going to get an email, and with that email, they can set up their password. Or I can set up the password myself and say manually specify the password. Right now, I'm not going to send any emails or anything at all. Therefore, I'm going to set up the password myself. But I'm going to take this name from Chisti to, let's say, Jane Mary. Or just Jane, okay? Let's leave it simple. Jane. I don't even know the email is accurate or not. And I go in here manually, set up the password. It gives me what password do you want. Password rule is has to be big, capital or something. I don't know. Let me try this. ABCD1234. If that's gonna accept. ABCD1234. At least 8 characters. No, it wants symbols and stuff. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say auto test at 123 and auto test at 123. New user got created. Look at this right here. I got this Jane right there with their email address, and I set up the password so I can tell her, hey, this is your new password. You can go and change it later. Also tells me that if she never logged in. Currently she is active. I can make her inactive and she won't have any access to this. And this is the default role that she has. It's called lead QA. I don't want her to be lead QA. She just got hired. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and change this role to just a tester. Understand that if there's a couple of other things I can do here, it depends on the role. I can say read only. If I say read only, she won't have access to write anything on it. She can only see it, view it. That's it. But if I do tester, she would be able to write and do some stuff. If I say lead, she might have this administration option show up in hers and she may be able to modify things. So I don't want that. I'm going to say tester. Okay. And we're going to leave it at this here. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. I'm going to create another test run. So go back to tech files, test
I
run.
have two questions.
Yes.
Can I proceed?
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, you have applied Gherkin test here. So is it on our own? Which way actually we'll be using it? Like if we want to use the classic test or Gherkin test, can we choose?
You can't choose. It's your boss is going to tell you what to.
Okay. And we can write the case like that way at that box.
It's also going to be different.
Right. And another question is how you checked actually this, how you tested this, how it linked with the TechFile software.
So very good question. Here's your test run. Let me just quickly create a test run and show you. So I create another test run. I go in and say, this is a smoke test. I go in here and this time I'm going to select specific test cases. So I choose this option here. That gives me another option saying change selection. So it gives me this 0 test cases so far. So you need to click on this change selection, gives you a window and says, how do you want to choose the test case you want? Remember, we had a test type, a manual. We also had a priority that we chose. One was critical, the other was high. Let's say I just want a critical test case. So I choose critical right there under priority. And I say match any of the above and then click on set selection. Notice it's only going to give me one test case. Even though I have 2 test cases, it gave me one because that only one test case had that critical category assigned to that test case. Now, if I say OK, I only got one test case selected. And if I say add test run, here's my test run, only got one test case selected. Now, your question is, how are you going to do this? And I'm going to show you right now. What you do is you created a test run, but you're not going to test it. You want to assign it to somebody else. So you click on select this test case and you say assign to and choose one of these, assign selected. Go ahead and click on that. And it's going to give you this drop down. From this drop down, you're like, oh, I got this new person, Jane. She just joined. I want her to test it. I'm not going to do that. Then you choose her name and then click assign to. She just got assigned and she's going to get a notification. And I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to log out of my window. And I told Jane, was it Jane at gmail.com? Can't remember. And password was auto test at 123. There you go. I'm logged in. First time login gives you all these windows. Skip it. Done. This is what she sees. And she's told that don't go to Priceline, go to TechFiles, and you got a test ready for you. So she's like, let me see. She clicks on this TechFiles. Where she is going to go is this button right here where it says to do. And once she clicks on this to do, she's going to see her job right here, smoke test. If this wasn't assigned to her, this would be blank. But now it's assigned. So she clicks open this test run, scrolls down, and she sees there's only one test case. She's like very happy. Only one test case. Now she's going to split screen like this. She's going to scroll down to the test, click on it, look at these steps, and she is going to follow along on the side right here. She is going to say, oh, given user logs into TechFiles, let me do that. I put in my username, password, sign in. Done. I am done with that step. Is it good? Working? Yep. Move on to the next step. What is next step? When user goes to CRM menu. Okay, here's the CRM menu. Okay. When user click on add contact icon, add contact, and types full name into add contact form. Here's type full name, Jane. 123. And click on submit button. Raju, do you see where I'm going? Click submit button.
Yes.
And she's like, okay, then panel should display with added contact. She never tested this before. That's why she's reading this. But if she tests this 5-10 times, do you think she needs to read every step? She won't. She's like, I have done this like 10 times. I don't need to read through the steps. I can just go in here and see, put in a contact, and does it show up? Cool, it shows up. So then she's like, then the panel should display with the added contact. Did it display? Yeah, I see a panel. I see the name that I put in here. Yay, it passed. Awesome, I'm done. What's next? So she goes back up here and she says, or down here, add result. It passed. If she wants to write something, if she wants to be very nerdy, she can. Or she's like very lazy, forget it. Who's going to read it? I'm just going to say result, add result. Now, going back in here, smoke test. Look at this. All green. Ding, ding, ding. Go ahead and release that application. No problems found. If bugs found, then you talk about it. Also, she's going to be like, okay, I've done my job. So if I go back into this to do, it should be blank. Let me see. And if you go back up here, there is completed 100%. And I don't know why it's still showing up here. That you can configure this so that it doesn't show up at all. Not just it's going to show that 0% complete, but it's also going to show that the whole thing is going to disappear from here, and you can customize test roll that way. That's how we have it in our company. That's all I got for you guys. There was a lot, and I had to go really fast because I got an appointment, so I have to end the class really quickly right now. Do you have any questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
So depending on the priority of severity, how many % of the critical level of urgency should be in test cases?
It's your choice.
So
You can have a high, medium, and low, and be done with that.
Suppose we have.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can have something called, in our company, we have called blocker.
Mhm.
Blocker is highest priority. Then we have critical. Then we have high, then medium, and then low. Your company may not have this something called critical. And then just have blocker, high, medium, and low. So totally customizable based on your company need.
Okay, for hypothetically, if I choose 200 cases among the 500 cases, and among 200 cases, say 190 cases is blocker. So will it accept the system? The system will accept this amount
That's-
of blocker.
That's what you have to discuss with your team. Your team could come back and say, no, it's very, very serious problem. We should not be releasing. Then you go with the team. So just this is where the teamwork comes in. Whenever you are in doubt, don't make that decision alone is my advice. Always put the decision on your manager, put the decision on your team, because making decisions is risky. What if we made a mistake on that decision? What if we were not right? Well, then we might take the responsibility. So whenever you see these kinds of decision making of giving it a go for release or not, always fall back on your team. Ask your developers, ask your business analysts, ask your QA manager. Hey, what do you think? Should we release this even though we have this problem, this failure? Let other people decide. Okay? That will be the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, just a small question from me.
Go ahead.
As an admin of this test trail, is there any options that we can export it to Excel and maybe import to another project?
Absolutely.
Is it possible?
Yes. Yes, there's options for this. Unfortunately, I don't have time to kind of show you.
No, it's
But
fine. It's fine. I'm just asking.
See this right there? CSV?
Yeah.
CSV
CSV
is
format.
Excel.
Okay, yeah.
Excel. So
Okay.
you can communicate back and forth with Excel, with other applications. You can bring whatever you have in your Excel into this imported, so you don't have to handwrite it. Yes, Stanley. There's lots of options on this site.
Okay, so so we can export it to save it in a local, and maybe after 2 weeks it's gonna expire. We can open a new account and import that one, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Hey, let me close this right now real quick, but I promise you when you come back and you're going to be playing around with it, I know you're going to struggle. That's good. I want you to struggle because struggle is going to make you grow. But look at this homework section here. This video is going to walk you through every step that you need to do this homework and nothing more. It's not going to waste your time on anything else. So don't panic. I'm going to have to watch an hour video. No, it's like 13, 15 minutes video that's going to walk you through how to do this test run and stuff. So go ahead and do that. Struggle. And if you fail, it's good. But I want you to struggle. If you don't try, and that is a bigger failure. But let's say you tried your best and then you fail to get it done. I still like that. So come with whatever you got next Saturday and demo it to everybody. Let's have more questions then. Let's answer more questions. I want you to put your hands in there and then ask me questions. That would be more mature questions than if you ask me right now. So thank you so much for attending. I will see you next weekend. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.
Thanks. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.